What's up everyone, veen588 here. Welcome back to another video. Today, at long last, I'll be presenting version 1 of my Titanic Breakup theory, along with my final plunge theory. Please take into account that this is only version 1 of my theory, and therefore, despite the many months of research, thought, and revision that went into it, it is not perfect and will be subject to change. One last thing I would like to say before we start is that please, by all means, try your very hardest to pick my theory apart piece by piece in the comments below, as feedback and constructive criticism from those of you in the community with a bit more experience than I will greatly help develop my theory and will be greatly appreciated. Alright, I think that's enough stalling. Let's get into the video. As water floods over the top of the port bridge wing, Titanic's port list that has been slowly decreasing over the past 5 or so minutes begins to rapidly level out due to equalization within the flooded portions of the ship. Within a matter of roughly 10 seconds, she's rolled from a port list of 7 degrees to 2 degrees. Many survivors see and or feel this movement. Lightaller describes it as a slight but definite plunge. As she settles and stops rolling, it gives the illusion that she's hesitating in the water, since the starboard side of the ship is now sinking at the same speed as the port side, which is significantly slower than the rolling motion she had just taken. This lasts only for a few moments as her sinking rate is now accelerating and progressively getting faster with every passing second. Her head trim increases from 10 degrees to 12 degrees and she settles at a 2 degree list to port due to the coal that had been moved in Boiler Room 5's coal bunker to the port side in order to put out a fire that had been burning there earlier. At this point, the plunge is still accelerating. The water line approaches the grand staircase dome cover, head trim increases from 12 degrees to 14 degrees. Titanic's first funnel collapses slightly to the starboard due to water imploding its base, washing collapsibles A and B away from the liner. Seconds later, the grand staircase dome implodes as water washes over it, allowing more water to pour into the ship. These two massive openings greatly increase the flow of water into the ship and she takes a top cant. Her head trim increases from 14 degrees to 19 degrees in this time, with water flooding around the base of the second funnel. As Titanic reaches an angle of 20 degrees, her keel fails, bending inwards and forcing the engines up. She begins to bend and the stern begins to settle back about a degree every second, although this speed would increase as the decks and structure begin to weaken. Her stern settles back to the point where her propellers are just above the surface of the water, roughly a 12-degree difference to the bow. As the weight of the stern is gradually relieved from the bow, the center of gravity shifts forward. That, along with the lessening weight of the stern, causes the aft portion of the bow to rise. This, paired with the engines now pressing against the underside of the tower sections and the stern bending back, put massive amounts of strain on B deck. Titanic's power begins to rapidly diminish as the steam pipes powering the dynamos bend and break. B deck snaps just forward of the third funnel and the decks below begin to fail one after another, not able to hold the ship together. The stern drops back a few more degrees, now only momentarily connected to the bow via the galley decks. The second funnel falls due to the same reason the first fell, but is forced over to starboard as water rushes up Titanic's deck. Steam and sparks escape from the boiler rooms below through the top of the funnel as it falls. Titanic's power fades completely, leaving only the emergency lights on. The bow completely separates from the stern. Now as its own separate vessel, it takes its own plunge cant, moving away from the stern and the aft end rising out of the water by a few more feet before sliding under the waves. The third funnel falls into the gap between the bow and stern, sparks flying from its base and from the top. The debris from Boiler Room 1 and the engine room fall from the ship. The forward starboard side reciprocating engine is dislodged, but the port side one stays in place for now. The stern bobs up in the water as the bow detaches. This throws the stern off balance and she lists heavily over to port. But as the forward parts of the stern start to flood, she slowly lists back. At the same time, the stern continues bobbing very slightly as she tries to stabilize. The stern settles with a 5-degree list of port due to the dropped engine and a slight trim forward. Titanic's stern is sinking very slowly, trimming forward at a snail's pace and pivoting in the water due to the bow tugging the stern slightly as it broke away. Very slowly at first, but gradually picking up speed, Titanic's stern dips lower and lower in the water. By the time her boat deck begins to submerge, she is dropping in the water very rapidly. Water rushes up the deck much faster than it did during the stages of the plunge before the breakup. The fourth funnel is forced backwards by the onrush of water. As she reaches an angle of 60 degrees, she begins to stabilize again, gradually slowing before coming to a halt at an angle of 75 degrees. Titanic's aft well deck and poop deck are now the only two things out of the water at this point. Still pivoting counterclockwise, slowly dipping lower and lower in the water. Her sinking doesn't accelerate or decelerate as her final moments tick away until very close to when she's submerged. She'd accelerate slightly at that point. Her fantail slips under the surface, facing south-southwest. Titanic is gone. Like I said before, this theory is subject to change and you can blow the heck out of it in the comments below, although I'll try my best to counter any argument given. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you're notified when I release new videos. God bless, and until next time, peace out everyone.